Hello, lovely ladies. I've just realized this blue thing has been sat there for an entire workshop. I'm pretty sure I moved that. How bizarre. That is so weird. Anyway, welcome to Lunch and Learn Live, my darlings. Welcome to Lunch and Learn Live on this very fine Tuesday. I have just finished a workshop. Oh yes, clarity and calling, career confidence in uncertain times. Literally just finished it 2 minutes ago, which is why I'm a little late. So apologies for my lateness, those of you who have been sitting here in Facebook land waiting for me to arrive. Sincerest apologies. I forgot to say what I was going to be doing in my description. We're talking imposter syndrome today, ladies. Imposter syndrome. So Tracy says, hello, I followed you across, not stalking or anything. Please do say hello in the comments section. Let me know where in the world you are and what is for lunch. I was really looking forward to my lunch. Then realized I had a date with you lot, so I haven't actually eaten. So this could go any way. Who knows how it's going to go? But I decided that I would share some content from the workshop that we just did. So if you're on the workshop with me, this is going to be a slight recap of one of those pieces, and hopefully you enjoy it. If you suffer from imposter syndrome, you're going to love it. If you know anyone who suffers from imposter syndrome, you are going to love it. But please do say hello in the comments section. Say hi. Let me know where in the world you are and what is for lunch. What are you eating where you are? Oh, Nadine says no lunch for me yet. I followed you over too. I love it, you ladies. That's really funny. Rachel says, great clarity in career this morning. Thank you. You're very welcome, Rachel. You're very, very welcome. So big welcome to all of you. Big welcome to all of you. I'm feeling like I should do a different topic than my one that I had planned, because I've just chatted imposter syndrome with you ladies who were there, but hopefully it will make a difference for you nonetheless. And you can ask questions, right? We'll have time for questions today. So hello, Sue is in South Dorset. Hello, my darlings. Now, just a little reminder in case you are inside some of our closed groups as well. Today, we are on the open public page. This is Lunch and Learn Live is always the free information, free training that I do every single week for the wide one of many community, for the whole wide world. So I love comments, but remember that those comments that you're sharing will be seen by other people who are looking at the video in future times, etc. So you may not want to, talk about how terrible your husband is or your boss in case they see it. That said, I really love honesty, and I think I can do a really great job if I get to know how you are actually going in the world. So, oh my God, now I'm just going to get really jealous of what you're eating. Rachel is in windy, sunny Lincolnshire eating homemade chicken pate and oat crackers. Okay, did I just turn green with envy, not with sickness. I love pate. I really like pate. Sarah is having reheated mushroom risotto in between following me over from Clarity and Career as well. Quite a few of you have made the leap from Zoom to Facebook. I'm going to lose it a little bit today, right? Because I'm really quite hungry. I just texted Greg and I said, could you bring me a banana, please? I think I need to eat something. I haven't eaten a banana for about 6 weeks. I haven't eaten any fruit. So we could go crazy together. Who's ready for seeing what happens when Joe eats fruity sugars? Good Lord. So let me know, ladies, if you have ever experienced imposter syndrome. You know you have, right? If you know you have experienced imposter syndrome, let me know with a little thumbs up, or let me know in the comments section if you know that you have experienced imposter syndrome in the past. Now, some of you might think you haven't, but when I share with you some of the signs of imposter syndrome, you might indeed discover that you have. So let's have a chat about that. Belinda's saying, what's the subject? It's imposter syndrome, my love. What is imposter syndrome? Let's talk about what it is for a moment. So imposter syndrome, and I did just share this in our clarity and calling workshop that we did this morning. If you missed the workshop and you want to find out about this and the other 3 hours of awesomeness that we did, drop us a line at the office, talk@oneofmany.co.uk, and we can send you a recording of the event. So imposter syndrome is the ability or the inability, I beg your pardon, the inability to internalize one's own success. So you can have success out there in the world, a whole lot of great things happen because you made them happen, right? And yes, all other things happened as well, but you were there, you made stuff happen, but you can't internalize it. That is my favorite definition of imposter syndrome, because I think it speaks to the problem of it, is a kind of feeling that when good things happen, you had nothing to do with it, yeah? And oftentimes, if bad things happen, you'll take all the responsibility for that, right? If you're going to blame yourself for bad shit happening, you should also blame yourself for the good shit happening, right? That's just my standard. In just the same way as if people blame me for bad things in their life, I say to them, well, that's fine, but are you also going to blame me for all the good stuff that I do too? Because, I'll take responsibility for that as well. So this is imposter syndrome, is the inability to internalize one's own success, right? Internalize. So let's talk about what the signs of imposter syndrome are, because then you might understand, you might think you don't suffer from imposter syndrome, but you may discover that actually you do. So what are the signs? They fall into kind of 3 categories. You might like to write these down. You might like to write them down. The first category is that any success that you do achieve, you feel like it is unearned or undeserved, right? Any success that you do achieve is kind of unearned or undeserved. So that kind of shows up as a bit of anxiety of being found out. And I shared on their workshop this morning how I often have these little moments where I kind of go, sooner or later, someone is going to find out that I'm just a kid from Lewisham and I don't really know what I'm talking about, right? Who am I to be running a major kind of, a global organization with all of these coaches or these life coaches when I haven't actually got my own life figured out, right? In my head, my life is so far from figured out. And one of these days, one of you are going to find that out, right? That's a kind of being found out thing. Who's ever experienced that before, of like kind of that worry that, they're going to find me out? Let me know in the comment section if you can relate to that kind of feeling of not wanting to be found out. I certainly do. I absolutely have felt that before. Do you know, it was really funny. I paid a coach, awesome coach, Xander Grashow. I paid him a lot of money to go do 2 days in-depth coaching with him to kind of do my life plan and business plan for the next iteration of one of many. And at the point where he's like, okay, tell me about the business, kind of what are your revenues and where are you up to? I know, right? This is a man who has coached presidents. He has coached people who are leading like billion-dollar companies, or like the people that he has had sitting in his room that he has coached. I know who they are, right? Billionaires in some cases. Politicians, TV celebrities, like they're extraordinary people that he works with. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? Okay, now I have to tell him how we're actually doing. And the imposter syndrome that jumped into my being at that point of kind of like, oh my God, he's about to find me out. He's about to find out just like how small and meager I am compared to all of these other people. It actually paralyzed me to the point where I couldn't actually participate. I said, Xander, I'm going to need to take a walk here and kind of sort that out. Yes, Tracy, it's Xander who was on our men's panel at Be Love. Absolutely, right? So I had to take it on, like that anxiety of, oh my God, he's about to find out. I got there, I shared with him, and what's really funny is he is now asking me about advice on how to build out his programs, which I love. So, swings and roundabouts, right? So any success that you have achieved is unearned or undeserved or not enough, right? That's one sign of imposter syndrome. And then the next one is success. If you have success, you worry that it was just luck and that you won't be able to do it again, right? So maybe you were successful at one thing, but that was actually really just luck. It was being in the right place at the right time, and it wasn't really me, or it was because of the team, or something. It was just luck, right? We put it down to luck. So you feel like you haven't earned or deserved your success. Who can relate to that? Let me know. Come on, let me know if you've ever experienced that in the comment section there, ladies. The next sign that you may be experiencing imposter syndrome, or someone that you know might be experiencing imposter syndrome, and please, if this is resonating with you or you know people in your community who may experience imposter syndrome, please do tag them in the comments section. You can do that by writing their name on Facebook, and then you just hit enter and it will say, hey, check out this video from Joe talking about imposter syndrome. That's great. Xanthi's saying, I've just attended the webinar. Now I'm found you on Facebook. You're giving me a good kick up the backside. Yes, indeed. I'm everywhere. So if you are over-crediting others, so you find it really hard to accept credit for something. I do this a lot too, You can't accept praise. People say, oh, great job, and I'll say, well, it was the team actually, right? It's the team. I tend to deflect from the team. It's something I've really got to practice. My team often then, I will spend so much of our team calls acknowledging the team, and from time to time, Sam or one of the team will say, Joe, I want to reflect back to you what an amazing leader you've been for us through this time. It's your amazing leadership that's helping sustain us. And the temptation to minimize that, to step away from it, to get out of that limelight is so huge. But I go, no, gotta be grateful, right? Gotta say thank you. So we have to be careful not to overcredit others. That is a sign of imposter syndrome. There's also this feeling that our success is due to our connections, right? Personal connections, rather than any kind of personal merit that we have, right? So we kind of tend to focus it on externals and say, no, it's because of this. It's because she introduced me to him and then he made it happen, right? Or it's because of these 3 team members that did it, and I didn't really have anything to do with it. So if you notice that you're thinking it's because it's other people, right, or your connections, not your merit, then that's a sign of imposter syndrome. Because what I want to say about this is, who the hell designed that network? Who the hell designed that team? Who the hell grew that team and those connections? That was you. That was your merit, right? Your ability to own that is critical to being able to overcome imposter syndrome. The other way that you can tell if imposter syndrome is going on is minimizing language. So you might use language like, "Oh, I'm nothing special," or it was a walk in the park. It wasn't a big deal. I had some time. Not a big deal. It's fine. No problem. Right? Just using language to minimize our efforts. Or indeed discrediting our own achievement. So maybe you've done something fantastic and then say, oh, well, it wasn't that good because they give that prize to, anyone who applies, really. And if I hadn't applied, I wouldn't have got it. So, whatever. It's insidious. It's insidious. Now, if you notice, give me a little thumbs up or a little yes in the comment section if you notice that you have ever done any one of those signs of imposter syndrome. I feel like I've said to you guys, you be aware we're in the public page and now no one is talking to me. Please let me know. It's not a big deal to have imposter syndrome. How do I know this? Because 98% of leaders who are surveyed say that they have imposter syndrome. And I can see a few of you saying love heart. Yes, you got that, right? Absolutely. Peggy saying, yep. I can relate to that. Thank you. Please do talk to me, ladies. It's not as fun when you don't talk to me. So when we have imposter syndrome, Emma says all of it all the time. Got it, right. We have this. How is it a problem? How it's a problem is that you are putting, and this is a piece I didn't cover in the workshop today, right? What I didn't cover in the workshop today and why it's really important is you are putting your locus of control, your center of power, always outside yourself. If it's not you, it's just luck. If it's not you, it's just other people. If it's not you, it's just that you had a bit of extra time. Then you are always putting your power center outside of you. Now, that's not a problem unless you want to change your freaking life in some way, shape, or form. And I don't know about you, but most people that I know want to be the author of their own destiny. They want to have the freedom to choose their life looking the way they want it, to choose their career to look the way they want it, to choose their relationships to look the way they want it. If you are suffering from imposter syndrome, the inability to internalize your own success, it also means that you are not internalizing your success. It means you're not internalizing your power. Does that make sense, ladies? Give me a yes in the comment section if this is making sense to you, what I'm saying now. The problem with imposter syndrome isn't that it'll keep you small. Yes, it will. It isn't that it's a problem that you want to discredit your achievements. No big deal if that's what you want to do. It's not a problem that you won't get the promotions. For me, as a coach and as a leader and as someone who is an ambassador of women, the real problem with imposter syndrome is you are now putting the source of power outside of you, to luck, to your connections, to people, to others, to anything outside of you. And that then is feeding the great problem with our gender, and that is not owning how fucking great you are, right? Urgh. So you might kind of go, yeah, I do a bit of imposter syndrome, but it's no big deal. It is a big deal. If not a big deal because you might want to change something in your life, a big deal because you are teaching others around you not to own their success, not to say, thanks very much, I worked really hard for that and I appreciate the compliment. No, you know, right? When you say, when someone compliments you on an amazing achievement, like great job that your organization has survived the pandemic, not just survived the pandemic, but you have tripled your client base during the pandemic, like great job, rather than like, oh, well, you know, yeah, thank you, well, you know, it was a team effort. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. We worked really hard. I worked hard, my team worked hard, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Can you hear the difference of what it says for womankind, what it says for, you know, other people listening to that? Here is someone who can, yes, acknowledge where credit is due and can internalize her power center. We need to do this for others as well, right? We need to do it not just for you, but for others as well. Do not put your power center outside of you. You have power over much, right? You have power over much. I love it. Nadine says, I know I'm capable as long as I'm not under-resourced. I just don't like to brag and sweep my achievements, and so therefore sweep my achievements under the carpet. I can take a compliment, but I feel so awkward. And that's it, right? And that's the imposter syndrome that kind of wants to not take the compliment, right? It's the one that wants to not take the compliment. How else does it impact you, right? Other than putting your power center outside, I'm interested to hear, how does it impact you? So Nadine shared beautifully, she says, you know, I can take the compliment, but it feels awkward. So it impacts her because when someone says something nice to her, she's feeling awkward about that and finds it difficult to say thank you. It also means that that's a problem for the person giving the compliment, because the best gift you can give someone when they give you a compliment or acknowledgement is a really gracious thank you. That is a gift to the giver, right? The gracious acknowledgement. So how else does it impact you? Let's hear how else. And Alex says, but what if you really aren't that good? Alex, I'm not sure whether that is spoken like a true imposter who says, no, I really am not that good. Here's what I would put forward. If someone is acknowledging you for something, I don't know what the stats on this are going to be, but I would say unless you are someone who happily takes credit for shit that is not your responsibility, then it probably is imposter syndrome stopping you from accepting that responsibility, right? You probably are great. If someone is saying you're great at that, if someone is saying thank you for that, if someone is saying, you know, I'm really grateful that you did this and now I am having that, it's imposter syndrome, right? It is absolutely imposter syndrome. I don't think we notice just how much of an impact we have on other people. So why do we get like this, right? And why are women so very good at imposter syndrome? I think it's because of our family patternings, right? It's because of our family patternings and behavioral patterns from the past that we grow up with, that we often develop inside of childhood. Beliefs that we experience. So you know, we grow up, and girls especially, right? Girls especially, not in every family, absolutely not in every family, but in many families, we're told to be nice, don't brag, don't big note yourself. No one will like you if you big note yourself. So we are conditioned and trained to put ourselves down, right? We're conditioned and trained to not own our achievements. You know, you might have a rocking tennis match and you play really, really well. And then, you know, your coach or your mom or your dad says, don't brag about it. So rather than being taught how to be humble how to be humble and gracious in success as well as defeat, and how to say, well done, thank you, I know I played really well, I'm really proud of how I played, thank you for the game, I had a great time, you played a great game too, right? We end up going, oh, thanks, and not shaking hands over the net and not wanting to upset anyone. We get into these weird situations, right? Does this make sense? So these family patterns, we develop them in childhood, and then they feed into the beliefs that we develop about ourselves, right? We believe that it was luck. We believe that it was just the wind blowing in the right direction, or we believe it wasn't. It was because of any number of different things, our connections and so on. And yeah, look, I'm not putting forward that there are many of us that get a bloody great head start at things in life. Speaking from my place of white middle class privilege, like I'm present to that, right? Absolutely present to the fact that I have a head start, which is luck. The fact of you call it luck, that makes it sound like it's there's only one way to cut it, and of course that's not the case. But yes, my privilege because of my skin color, my privilege because of where I was born in the world, that privilege is something, yes, that is luck, I guess. And all of us, irrespective of the level of privilege we have the possibility to diminish ourselves through imposter syndrome because of not being able to recognize the beliefs that we are superimposing on us, that it is only luck, that it is only our connections and only that stuff that gets us along, right? Does this make sense, ladies? So you've got to be aware if you are putting this locus of control outside of you, right, and focusing that all your success is because of outside, and usually the dovetail of that is your failings are all your fault, and your team's failings are all your fault too, right? Then you're in this imposter syndrome cycle. And you've got to look carefully. What beliefs do you have about yourself? What beliefs do you have about success that have you do this? The other one that really hit a nerve with ladies on the workshop today and is critically important is that oftentimes we end up in environments or institutions, so sometimes that might be schools, clubs, workplaces, where there is institutionalized discrimination, right? And most schools, most institutions have this. Why? See point A, white privilege. So most of these will have this situation. And then if we don't feel like we're part of the club, so maybe that's just because you're a woman and you are in a very masculine career where most of the other people that you work with are men, so you don't belong because you're the token woman. That sense of belonging gives us confidence, right? Belonging fosters confidence. If we feel like we belong, it fosters confidence. And when we foster confidence, then we are less likely to suffer from imposter syndrome. We're more likely to believe in our ideas. We're more likely to put them forward. We're more likely to accept compliments. We're more likely to accept our responsibility for the success that we've achieved. But if we feel we don't belong, and we lack that confidence, then we start to have the cycle go the other way, where it feeds our lower self-esteem and it feeds into the imposter syndrome. So you've got to be very careful. So it's our family and behavioral patterns and the limiting beliefs that we make up about ourselves and about life, but that can also be then fostered or becomes a self-perpetuating and ever-growing cycle because of the institutions that we end up in that have us feel like we don't belong, and that not belonging fuels imposter syndrome. Who can relate to that sense of not belonging somewhere? I remember when I was in medicine, like my gender never rated on my Richter scale for me. Like I was never someone who ever felt that because of my gender I wasn't getting advantages that guys were getting. Honestly, it didn't. I went to an all-girls school, that might have helped. So I was allowed to be smart and sporty and creative. I was lucky in the school that I went to, right? So you could say that there's a lot of luck in that. But my patterning around that had me grow into someone going into the workplace thinking, it doesn't matter if I've got boobs or not, right? It doesn't matter if I'm a woman or a man, equal opportunity, it's all good, etc. And it wasn't until I was actually practicing as a doctor and I had my period, and I was over the open operating field in someone's belly, holding a retractor, feeling like I was going to fall over because it was day 1 of my period, where I had my first realization that, oh my goodness, I can't be a surgeon. And in that realization of knowing that surgery, or at least surgery where there were going to be long surgeries, like big abdominal surgeries or so on, was going to be off limits for me because physiologically I couldn't do it. That was my realization. I went, oh my goodness, what else? How else is my physiology impacting my workplace? And then I started noticing it, do you know? I started noticing it much more that the guys could do longer hours and not be as knackered as I was. This is something I noticed then in my first big contracting job as a trainer as well. I saw the other guys in the organisation, they would fly all over the world and party really hard and then go out and do the work, and it didn't bother them, but I was burning out, do you know? And that made a huge impact in me. I noticed then when I shifted hospitals and went to a small country hospital, the boys' club at that small country hospital was awful. That was the first time I noticed it. I noticed the way the consultants favoured the guy medical students over the girl medical students, and favoured the guy registrars over the girl registrars. I noticed it that for the first time. I went, oh wow, this is here. This is a thing. I'd never noticed it as a thing before that, right? And so that sense of not belonging started to shake my confidence. It shook my confidence in my ability to. I had this belief that I could be any kind of doctor I wanted to be, any kind at all. But as soon as I started noticing these things, that shook my confidence. Now, as it turned out, being a doctor was not my thing, right? I didn't want to do that in the end. But being aware of that made a real difference to my confidence levels, that sense of belonging. Have you ever felt that? I can see Caroline saying, definitely me, in medicine for my gender and for my working class background, right? Absolutely, I get that. Absolutely get that. Xanthi says, I too have been a surgeon and a burnt out GP. The capability trap that you described in your webinar resonated with me. Yeah, get it, right? So this is it. It's this, when we kind of don't belong, it fuels it, and that lower confidence, lower self-esteem can then feed back in, and we take even less responsibility. So how do we interrupt it? How do we stop imposter syndrome, right? Simone says, I feel like I don't belong due to my color, my culture, my size, my personality type, either one or all of those things. That sense of belonging, right? That sense of belonging is so critical to our ability to develop confidence. And as I shared on our training this morning, it doesn't even have to be belonging where we go to work to have an impact on our work. As long as we can have a tribe where we feel accepted and where we feel we belong, then we can, and we can be accepted for all of who we are, however we are, then that can feed into confidence in all aspects of our life. So, how do we overcome imposter syndrome? Well, I'm kind of fast tracking that to number 3 already, and I've shared it with you. One is find your tribe. Find a tribe where you belong, because the sense of belonging that you get in any tribe will fuel your confidence, right? Where you feel like you can be a part of something, and not even a contributing part, but just accepted. That's all you got to do is feel accepted. If you can feel accepted somewhere, if you can feel a sense of belonging, then it can fuel your confidence, which I think it is so critical, therefore, to find spaces like that. And I hope that here at One of Many, we provide that. I know we provide that for thousands of women. I hope we provide it for you. And if you're not sure if you feel accepted, here's something I dare you to do. Go into one of the Facebook groups, right? Not out here in the public land, but go into one of the Facebook groups like B1. It's a closed group. Anything you post in there is closed off from the rest of Facebook. Or the Hearth if you're in one of our programs, or the Change Forum if you're in Lead the Change. And post something about yourself, something authentic that you think is unacceptable, right? That you think maybe you don't even accept it about yourself. Go and share. You know, this came up for me and I don't really like it about myself. Go share it. And notice just how loving and accepting a community of women who know how to stand behind each other and for each other can be, right? It's quite extraordinary. And so I really encourage you to find that tribe, to find a place where you can feel that you belong. So that is one of the 3 ways to overcome imposter syndrome. Find a place where you can belong. The second one is to then become aware of times where imposter syndrome is playing into your thoughts and your actions, and consciously choose to come from a different place. So just as I've said, that's the land where I spend a lot of my time with my imposter syndrome operating these days, is I know she's there and I know she tends to crop up. So in those moments where I feel her taking my power away, I go, okay, who can I choose to be instead? I can choose to be queen and graciously accept responsibility for what I have achieved here. Thank you very much, right? And I do that. Or if I received an award, actually I'm not allowed to talk about it yet. Shh, don't tell anyone. Let's just say I received an award, and you will be finding out about it soon. My imposter syndrome wanted to minimize that like crazy. But you know what I made myself do? I made myself go out and celebrate it with friends. Consciously choose to go out with friends and celebrate it. And I let them buy the champagne, and we had a really great time, to consciously come from lover power type and nourish that part of me that wanted to celebrate, right? So this conscious choice of coming from power types can start to have you be more comfortable with it. Then the third step is then to look at the limiting beliefs that you've got that fuel your imposter. Beliefs like, I'm not good enough, I'm nothing special, right? And let them go. We've got limitation releases and power type release processes here in our community that can support you with that. If you're new to our community and you're watching this video about imposter syndrome right now and you're like, what the hell does that stuff even mean? Come on in, reach out to us and find out, how do I let go of these limiting beliefs? Come on into the B1 global community, and we're very, very happy to explain that to you and the resources we have to help you with that. But let go of those limiting beliefs. Let go of shame, of that emotion that you're carrying around from, when you weren't allowed to own the fact that you kicked ass in that tennis tournament when you were 7, or, that you kicked ass in that spelling bee, or that you kicked ass wherever you kicked that ass and you weren't allowed to own it because you were told to be nice and be kind and be humble, and you made that mean don't say anything about how great you are. We've got to let that shame go. We've got to let that shame go, because that shame is putting your power center outside of you. And when your power center is outside of you, then we have problems on our hands. Does this make sense, ladies? Got it. So they're the 3 things, right? Be aware of the thoughts, and you can consciously shift them in practice, and kind of keep mindfulness around it and consciously change. 2, do the unconscious work of letting go of the limiting beliefs and emotions that fuel it. 3, find your tribe and foster the sense of confidence that comes with belonging. That is your antidote to imposter syndrome. And as I said, right in the middle of it today, overcoming imposter syndrome isn't just so that you can have a better life, a better career, and feel less awkward more of the time. It's also about how we are teaching our girl children, and in fact our boy children for that matter, we are teaching the world how to deal with women in general. So for my request is that you do the work to consistently work with your imposter syndrome and be a better example. And I want to finish with the words of an extraordinary woman. Her name is Halla Thomasdottir. She ran for president in Iceland. She was one of the partners of one of the very few, perhaps only, financial institutions that did not go bankrupt in the Icelandic crisis when Iceland went bankrupt. Their whole philosophy was putting a feminine slant on finance, which is what took them into business. They weren't invested in things they didn't understand. Amazing that they actually survived, right? She's an extraordinary business owner. She's now the CEO of the B Team, an amazing collective of CEOs and founders of different organizations all around the world. Highly recommend checking her out. Anyway, I had the great privilege of being able to spend some time with her on Necker Island last year, and we talked about imposter syndrome. And she said, yeah, I suffer from imposter syndrome terribly. And I said, well, when you suffer from imposter syndrome, do you run for president? Right? How do you do that? And she said, well, I find that giving voice to it diminishes it, not only for me, but for others around me. So she said, I will keep talking about imposter syndrome at every chance I get, because when other women hear that I have imposter syndrome, then it allows them to speak about their imposter syndrome, and we can then actually take the wind out of its sails. And I think that that is an extraordinary piece of advice. So we're doing this, we're talking about imposter syndrome, taking the wind out of our sails, not just so we have a better life, not just so that we can have more power and make better decisions and have careers that we care about and careers that make an impact, but because we are actually reshaping the paradigm and making it more human. And it is human to have imposter syndrome. So let's talk about it more. That is my deepest and dearest request. So please, darlings, if this has been useful for you, please take this video, share it to your own personal Facebook page, tag someone you know who suffers from imposter syndrome. If you've got a team member who were talking about this the other day, just say, oh, this came up in my Facebook feed. I thought you might find it interesting. Please share it, because the more we share it, the more wind we take out of its collective sails, and we can overcome it. If you want a great book, Archana, on imposter syndrome, Margaret Collins is one of our in-house coaches here at One of Many, an extraordinary woman, and the UK's specialist in imposter syndrome. So go on to, I'm sorry, I forget the exact name of her book. I haven't got it front of mind. I'm really hungry now and I need to have some lunch. But if you Google Margaret Collins, imposter syndrome, you will find her, and she has written the book on it, and highly recommend you check it out. Lots of love to you all, my darlings. Have a fabulous day. Thank you for joining me for Lunch and Learn Live, and I will see you next Tuesday for more awesome free training in the world of One of Many and taking your power back. I think it's time I go and eat. I'm getting a little bit crazy. Lots of love.